This is a story of history and mystery. It takes place at Lake Pleasant in the Northwest Valley. Lake Pleasant is held back by an earthen dam you see here called the new Waddell Dam. That dam replaced the old Waddell Dam, which was a record-setting concrete structure when it was built back in the 1920s. You can see it here, a beautiful dam. You can see how much bigger the new dam is than the old dam. So here's the new earthen dam, and right up here is the old Waddell Dam. That dam, the old dam, is now hundreds of feet below water. And so is the body of a scuba diver who went down to explore it nearly 15 years ago. He's never been recovered, and we wanted to find out why. In October of 2010, Tim Borger, a 48-year-old diver, went for a dive in Lake Pleasant at the site of the old Waddell Dam. Somehow, he got separated from his group. He never resurfaced. And now, almost 15 years later, he's still at the bottom of the lake.
He's somewhere here on the dam and probably never to be discovered again.
But why? Why is Tim Borger still down here after all these years? He's the only drowning victim in the Maricopa County Sheriff Lake Patrol's history they haven't been able to recover. And exploring the reasons why requires a look back in history. Lake Pleasant was nearly tripled in size with the building of the new earthen Waddell Dam in the mid-1980s. That dam's still in use today. The new dam dwarfed the old Waddell Dam that had held back the water in the lake since the 1920s. And when the lake began to fill to its new capacity, workers cut a big gap in the old dam to let water through. They blew that gap with dynamite.
Well, imagine a building collapse. That building collapse is now 260 feet below the surface.
And that building collapse debris, 260 feet down, is beyond treacherous for divers. This video was taken by a technical diver who spent time searching for Tim. Amanda Hughes is the current dive team leader for MCSO.
They left all the debris. You can see doors and trees and parts of the buildings and picnic tables, so there's rebar.
The theory is somehow Tim's body got wedged in between some of these massive chunks of debris. The dive team's Jason Gilchrist conducted over 60 search missions for Tim.
There are voids that I've went into with the ROV, and I went down 30 feet before I hit bottom, and I couldn't go forward, backwards, or anything. So there's a good potential that he possibly went into one of the voids that we just physically cannot get into, and even with the ROV.
Forrest Packbush is a Phoenix firefighter. He also owns the diving shop and dive charter business called Cyborg Pirate. He's dove on the dam many times and agreed to give us a look at the dam to show us how, safely, it is still such a big draw for divers today. We begin with a briefing.
Stick with me, we're going to stay on the top of the dam. We may move down here just a little bit.
Then we splash to begin our dive. We follow an anchor rope down to the top of the dam, and soon we can see it. It's huge. We're down about 80 feet here, and the visibility this time of year allows us to see the dam's arches. In fact, the old Waddell Dam was the biggest concrete arch dam in the world when it was built. And then we swim to the breach. You can clearly see where the dam's been cut. Here's a photo when it actually happened above ground, and what's down here now. And about 170 feet below us, about triple our depth, nowhere near where we're going, is where Tim is still lost. That has to be frustrating though, right? All that work.
It's the only one that we have not been able to locate and return for the family.
And over time, the silt has washed over him, settled over him, and so he's not to be recovered.
Hundreds of hours of searching, and now 15 years of a mystery that will likely remain unsolved. Tim Borger is still considered a missing person. Now special for 12 Plus, an extended interview with Cyborg Pirate dive boat captain Forrest Packbush, and more of the video of our dive of the old Waddell Dam.
Okay.
What makes this such a dangerous dive?
So there are a number of things that make this a dangerous dive. Number one is depth. And it's a very, as you saw, we were monitoring our gases and also monitoring our no decompression limits. So being out here and doing such a deep dive, you can get yourself into trouble with not paying attention to the amount of gas that you have, also not paying attention to those no decompression limits and making sure that you're able to get back to the surface with enough air to breathe or gases to breathe. Another big concern is that the dam itself does have some overhead type environment, which you saw that we didn't get into any of the overhead, but you can see that, well, there's a lot of fishing line, there's anchors and chains and things that are hanging from the dam where people have actually snagged those, weren't able to retrieve them, and so they cut them and left them. They create entanglement hazards, they create overhead hazards, and things that people can get into and not even know that they were swimming into them and get into those problems. Overhead environments create an entirely different problem. You get in there, again, now you've got a horizontal swim as well as a vertical swim to get back up to the surface. And running out of gas inside one of those long, deep caverns and trying to get back out of it and not being able to make it to the surface can create a problem for you as well. And you end up with being trapped down there, let alone the entanglement hazards we just talked about. Some of the other things that that create problems for the deeper divers that and even when the lake is low and in recreational limits, there's where they cut the breach out and they blew all that debris forward. Well, imagine a building collapse. That building collapses now 260 feet below the surface. Well, when the lake is lower, that building collapse is actually within recreational limits, and you can get divers tangled up in that with rebar and trellis and overhead concrete barriers, all different types of things that can create a problem. And divers that are not trained correctly, or even divers that are trained correctly and they have mishaps, can cause problems for them down there.
You lost a friend down there.
I did lose a friend down there. 6 years ago on May 4th, Josh Rosen was a very close friend of mine, a good dive buddy of mine, and he lost his life diving the old dam.
So when you go down there, do you think of him?
It is definitely on my mind. I think about it every time we come out here, every time I send my guy in to tie into the dam and he's down there by himself, every time that we come here and I bring a bunch of recreational divers and technical divers here, it's always on my mind. It is a concern. It's something that my crew will tell you my demeanor changes when we come out here on the dam. I'm all business. It's not a place to, basically be messing around and take things nonchalantly. Everything is very, very serious out here, and that doesn't mean you can't come out and have a good time. You most definitely could come out here and have a good time. It's just a matter of, hey, let's pay closer attention to the training that we've had and the things that we've done, and make sure that we execute these dives the way that we've planned them, and everybody comes back to 0 feet safely.
And we have a diver who's been down here for, it'll be 15 years in October.
Timmy Borger was here. He was diving with the group, and somehow he got separated from the group and was never recovered. Nobody really actually knows what happened to Tim. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of, armchair quarterbacking that has gone on with that, but it ended up being a cold case where they've never recovered Tim. They don't know where Tim is, and he's somewhere here on the dam, and probably never to be discovered again. So yes, it very much can be dangerous. That's why we dive in teams, we dive with buddies, and that we stay close together, and we take care of each other, and we make sure that people don't get lost down there.
People may not understand when you say he's right here. I mean, he's here somewhere, and we can't get him.
Right. So depending on, the reason we're not able to recover Tim is we don't know where he is. He could be trapped in some of that debris that we talked about. He could be trapped, entangled in something, and over time, the silt has washed over him, settled over him, and so he's not to be recovered. Part of the problem and part of the speculation is that Tim was way overweighted. I don't know that. I can't speak to fact on that, so I can only tell you what the speculation is, that he was way overweighted and he had too much weight.
And that would mean he would sink quickly.
That he sank and went to the bottom.